2023 has come and gone. When talking about the election that took place from February to November 2023, and one of the striking issue is one of these things that the senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, that we all know, talks about on Politics Today with Shehu on Channels Television.
First place, Shehu, as I have repeatedly made clear, the stakeholders should go back to the drawing table so that the involvement of judges in our elections can be completely eliminated. Nigeria is the only country in the world today where results of elections are determined by judges. It shouldn't be so. We have just witnessed in Liberia, a country that Nigeria assisted to restore political stability. We've just witnessed an election there. Recently, we witnessed an election, a successful election in Sierra Leone. Again, another country assisted by Nigeria to have law and order restored. So if these countries can organize elections, why are we asking judges to determine the result of our elections with respect to the decisions of the Court of Appeal? That is not the end of the road. All those who are dissatisfied will have to go to the Supreme Court.
Now, talking about election reform, it is something that we cannot overemphasize. If you look at the situations that happened on the 25th of February, as well as Bayelsa Kogi Imo election that took place on the 11th of November 2023, you agree with me that the 2023 election as a whole is a total shamble. And as a result of this, when you look at our electoral laws and the process at which we conduct our elections, it is obvious to everyone that Nigeria needs to have a total reform. Now, it was as a result of the cry for electoral laws and reform that necessitated the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, to sign the electoral law of 2022 into law, of which it comes with a loud celebration across Nigeria. But going into the election, we saw that even the electoral law was not followed, as the Independent National Electoral Commission, bridges some of those laws. When you look at the issues that happen in Plateau State and some other states across Nigeria, where pre-election matters that were supposed to be determined before the election were carried over, and then at the end of the day, the Independent National Electoral Commission still went ahead to conduct election, feeding those candidates and now causing a lot of problem even after a candidate of a certain political party has been declared winner, and then the party that ought not to even field the candidate in that election, end up being in office, maybe through court or even the INEC declaring such candidate the winner. Now, let me allow you to watch this from Femi Falana. We'll come back with digest on these issues.
But if you look at what happened in Lagos, why is different from Plateau, is that you are being told in the case of Plateau, there was a judgment of the High Court to the fact that primaries have to be conducted. The judgment, as usual, was dishonored, disregarded, disobeyed, and elections went on. I think the last time I can recall that the Supreme Court berated the Nigerian political class to learn to comply with the doctrine of least spendings was the case of Mr. Peter Obi and INEC. When in 2007, in spite of the case of Mr. Peter Obi that was pending the High Court, INEC went and proceeded to hold the election. The Supreme Court made the point that it was a risk on the part of INEC to engage in a wasteful exercise by conducting that election while the case of Mr. Peter Obi was pending. Now, if we are being told here that the court ordered the primaries be held and the primaries were not held, and the election took place on the basis of the primaries that were not held, there are problems. I do hope that the Supreme Court will make a definitive pronouncement on this. Again, it's different from Kano, where you are being told now that voters can be punished. It's a very dangerous judicial policy to punish sanctioned voters for the mistake of electoral officer. We are being told here that 165,000 votes are wasted. They are invalid because some electoral officers refused or committed an error by not stamping them. How does that affect the validity of the election? If you recall again the case of Yaradua, Buhari and Yaradua, even the election material, the ballot papers were not serialized, they were not marked, but the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that the petitioner, General Buhari, on that occasion, did not impeach the integrity of the election. So I do hope that this time around the Supreme Court will again resolve this needless controversy surrounding the stamping of ballot paper by INEC officials who have not been recommended for any discipline or any sanction. So this is why these judgments will have to be reviewed.
If you look at the issues in Plateau and Kano State, it baffles some of us that in a place especially like Kano State, where over 160,000 votes were nullified, that because the Independent National Electoral Commission staff failed to, perform their duty, or maybe it's something we tag as an error. When you look at that, are you going to blame the candidate who contests for this election, or even the people who voted for their preferred candidate because there was an error from the Independent National Electoral Commission? We saw that on the 25th of February, there was an, technical glitches as the INEC claims, that resulted into the uploadment of the results of the IRF, of which the Labour Party candidate kept hammering upon, right from the tribunal to the Supreme Court. And we saw how, the judgment came out. Now, you are about to punish a candidate and the people's choice just because the Independent National Electoral Commission fails to, perform its duty. Now, looking forward to what happened in Plateau State, but then let's take a look at what happened in 2007 between Peter Obi and the Independent National Electoral Commission when he was contesting as the governor of Anambra State. In that case, the same thing happened, but the Supreme Court reversed it. So we hope that the Supreme Court of Nigeria can do the needful by returning the people's choice, especially that of Kano State. And one of the things that surprises me mostly is that how can you say that over 160,000 voters that were nullified belongs to just one political party? It is something that is so surprising. You can't tell me that 160,000 voters, votes that is cast for a particular political party is being cancelled, but then it have no effect, those number of votes have no effect on the opposition or even the ruling or progressive Congress in that particular state. It's just only for one particular party. It doesn't make any sense. It looks like something is fishy behind that no one can actually lay finger upon. But when you say something, they send security agency for you, to get you arrested and all of that when you raise some certain things. But when you look at it critically, you will all agree with me that money went down, and that was the reason why that happened. Because you cannot tell me that 160,000 votes of NNPP were voided because they were not stamped, but in that state political, that same polling unit, the voters for the vote that belongs to the All Progressive Congress were stamped. I don't really understand this whole thing. Or maybe they're trying to tell us that the polling unit where the NNPP candidate won this election from, they didn't stamp those results that comes from those polling units, but where the All Progressive Congress won from, they stamped their own results. If you do that, then it means that something is fishy. So therefore, this is one of the things that is making Falana and most Nigerians reacting and said, we need a total reform in our electoral processes in order to have a better democracy, a better Nigeria, a better future. What do you think about this? Let's have the conversation at the comment section. Thank you for watching.